The heat was oppressive, settling down on the village of Lakeside like a wet woolen blanket. A pale charcoal sky hung low over the lake and the tall pine trees surrounding it like giant sentries. For days, the dark sky had promised the relief of a cooling rain, but it had not come. The students at Philippa Moore Senior High School complained constantly about the heat. Philippa Moore was not air-conditioned. Sitting in one of its classrooms was like being roasted over hot coals. Class cutting became rampant. Even those students who seldom skipped gave in to the temptation to escape the stifling classrooms. On Wednesday afternoon, Jenny Wynne, her sister Barbie, and their friend Cappy Cabot cut their final class of the day and met up in the school parking lot. Jenny put the top down in her big old yellow convertible. Then they climbed in and eased out of the parking lot and onto the highway.
Oh, boy, this is unbelievable. It is never this hot in May.
The woods on the other side of the lake will be cooler. We'll go there.
Yeah. You know, we should have asked Meghan and Hillary to come along.
It wasn't worth it. Meghan probably wouldn't have cut, and Hillary said she had to go to the drama department after school.
I think Meghan had stuff to do for her birthday party.
Oh, yeah.
She's so excited about it. Wish I was turning 16.
Oh, don't worry, Barb. You will. Less than a year to go now. Jen, has Meghan asked Justin to come to her party yet?
Not as far as I know. We keep telling her she's got to do it.
Oh, she is so shy and such a dreamer. Did you see her today when Miss Bolt caught her daydreaming?
So what? She knew the answer anyway.
Meghan almost always knows the right answer.
She's just different, that's all. Leave her alone.
I'm afraid she'll put off asking Justin until it's too late.
I know, but it's up to her. After all, it's her party. We all know how she feels about Justin, but she won't admit it. She keeps saying they're just friends. Why should he want to go to a party with someone who's just a friend?
Yeah, Justin is crazy about her. Everybody can see that but her.
And he won't make a move on her because he's afraid of scaring her off. If she does ask him to her party, at least he'll know how she feels. And they can both relax.
Well, there's still time. Wow, I can't believe how hot that breeze is.
Never mind. It's better than being stuck in a classroom.
It better be cool in the woods. If Miss Beach finds out I deliberately cut class, she'll hang me out to dry.
Lulled by the heat, the girls sat back as the big yellow cars sped along the open road. They had left the town behind them now. On their right lay the lake, still too cold for swimming, guarded by stately pine trees. The woods were off to the left, and the narrow road, empty of traffic now, stretched ahead of them like a flat gray ribbon. At the end of the straight stretch was a sharp elbow, Sutter's Bend. Approaching it, Jenny eased up on her speed, keeping a firm grip on the wheel. She had driven this curve hundreds of times since she got her license in January. It should have been as simple as brushing her teeth. But this time, it wasn't.
Barb, something's wrong.
What? What's the matter?
The steering isn't working. I can't make it turn.
Oh, no!
The Accident by Diane Hoh. Meghan Logan stood before the freestanding oval wooden-framed cheval mirror in her bedroom, wondering if the blue-green dress she was trying on should be shortened for her party. The bedroom was stuffy and hot, not conducive to trying on clothes. Old houses like this one had no air conditioning. Her mother had inherited the big white house on the lake from Meghan's grandmother, Martha. Her family had moved in just 3 months before, after her grandmother's death. Meghan still missed her. Normally, the breeze off the water cooled the house, but during this heat wave, even the breeze was oven warm. The silky fabric of the dress clung uncomfortably to her moist skin, but she had to check out the dress. Her Sweet 16 party was coming up soon, a week from Sunday, and there was still a lot to do. All of her friends were excited about the party, but no one more than Meghan. Sweeping her thick dark hair up away from her shoulders, Meghan surveyed the turquoise dress with a critical eye. Wasn't the full short skirt half an inch too long? It might make her look shorter than she actually was. Maybe she should buy higher heels. Justin was tall enough. Not that she'd asked him yet to be her date, but she would, any day now. Hillary and Jenny had said it was up to her to ask. It was her choice. But there was nothing to choose. It had to be Justin Carr. As if on cue, the blue telephone on her nightstand rang.
Hello?
Hi, it's Justin.
Oh, hi.
So, you're hitting the books in preparation for the bio quiz tomorrow? Old Ollie had that gleam in his eye today when he warned us about it. You know that look he gets when he's been plotting the attack of the killer quiz? Boy, how that guy loves to see us sweat.
He didn't have to do anything to get us to do that today.
Sorry, poor choice of words. Who needs help in that department now that Lakeside has become the overpowering inferno?
I just opened my book a minute ago. Are you ready for the quiz?
Meg, I was born ready.
Lots of people are blowing it off. There are tons of people out on the lake. I guess it's cooler out there. I'm sure I heard Karen Tucker's laugh, and she's in Ollie's class.
Well, if she's planning on batting her eyelashes and telling him her book fell in the water and got ruined so she couldn't study, she better get real. Ollie isn't impressed by those sexy types.
Sexy? You think she's sexy?
Well, she's got a great figure, and she has the art of flirting down to a science. Yeah, I guess she's sexy. Megan? You still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Good. Got awfully quiet there for a minute. I thought I lost you.
Listen, Justin, I can't sit here and talk to you all night. You may have this quiz aced, but I don't. I've got to go.
Oh, okay. See you at lunch tomorrow?
Sure. I mean, I guess so. I always do. See you at lunch, I mean. Oh.
Megan, you okay?
Sure. I'm fine. Just hyper about the quiz, that's all. I'd better go. See you tomorrow.
The minute she hung up, Meghan was angry with herself. Why hadn't she asked Justin about the party? It was only 11 days away, and the birthday girl still didn't have a date. She got up from her bed, smoothing out the turquoise skirt, and turned on her lights and her radio. Justin Carr, tall and thin, with sandy, wavy hair and smiling gray eyes behind his wire-rimmed glasses. During the past year, Justin had become one of her best friends. He made her laugh, and he listened. Most boys didn't. He never teased her about preferring jazz to rock music, or for taking long walks by herself, or for being late to class because she'd stopped to pick wildflowers. She had fallen in love with him for that. But she still hadn't asked him to be her date for the party, because she couldn't really believe that he'd be interested. Just then, Meghan became aware of the announcer's voice on the radio, cutting into the music.
This special report just in. There has been a serious automobile accident at Sutter's Bend, west of town. 3 people have been taken by emergency medical services to Lakeside Medical Center after their vehicle hit a utility pole. Residents are urged to avoid the area as live wires pose a safety threat. The names of the injured, whose families have been notified, are sisters Jennifer and Barbara Wynn, ages 16 and 15, and Catherine Cabot, 16. We'll have more on this accident in our full local news roundup at 7 o'clock. And now, back to the music.
Meghan stood stock still in the center of the room, frozen in shock.
Jenny? And Barb? And Cappy? Hurt?
She couldn't move. A serious accident, the announcer had said. How serious? Meghan stared out at the lake, empty now of boats and people in the gathering dusk. Everything was peaceful and quiet. Everything, except for the suffocating heat, was as it always was, except that something horrible had just happened.
Hello?
Meg, is that you? It's me, Hillary. Megan, say something.
Phil, Jenny and Barb.
I know. I heard. That's why I'm calling.
What could have happened? Jenny's a really good driver.
My dad thinks a tire blew. He said that when the pavement's hot, it's hard on tires. He said a blowout on such a big car would make it really hard to control.
Gosh, Hill, this is awful. Have you heard how bad they're hurt?
No, not yet. But it sounds really bad.
I just can't believe it.
Jenny was so excited this afternoon. She'd asked Rob Lyle to your party, and he'd said yes. Meg, I can't talk about this anymore. Call me if you hear anything, okay?
I will. You too.
Meghan sat on the bed, lost in shock and disbelief. Was it really true? She couldn't stand to think about her friends in pain, maybe even dead. No, the announcer hadn't mentioned a fatality. but injured was bad enough. Shaking, she got up to remove the party dress. That made her wonder if Jenny had found the perfect party dress she'd been hunting for. And Meghan burst into tears. Suddenly, Meghan felt the temperature in her room plunge. The lights dimmed, sending the room into near darkness. Meghan clutched at a bedpost, her mouth and eyes wide open. What was happening? She was about to bolt for the door when...
Why are you crying, Meghan Logan? I said, why are you crying?
Slowly, Meghan looked around the room. There was no one in it but her. But when her eyes moved to the big oval mirror, she gasped and stood transfixed, completely and utterly terrified. Instead of her own image, the glass was filled with a wispy, shadowy plume, faintly purple in color, weaving gently back and forth in the frame. Gradually, the plume began to take on a vaguely human shape. Meghan felt her heart racing.
I've fallen asleep. I'm having a nightmare.
I asked why you were crying. You look very sad.
Meghan was freezing. The air coming in the window behind her was toaster warm, yet within her room it was as cold as an underground cavern. Every inch of her body was paralyzed with fear.
What's going on? What's happening?
I need to talk to you, Meghan Logan. Don't be scared. I won't hurt you.
Who are you? What are you?
I am Juliet.
No, this isn't happening. This can't be happening.
Meghan sank down on the bed, shivering. The room was so cold. Without taking her eyes off the mirror, she reached slowly out and pulled the comforter from her bed, wrapping herself in it.
Go away! Whatever you are, I don't want you here. You don't belong here.
I can't. I've got to talk to you, Meghan. And you've got to listen to me. It's important. I've waited so long. So very long.
Waited? Where? Where did you come from?
I come from another time, another place. I'm here now. That's all that matters.
How did you get into that mirror?
The mirror isn't important. It doesn't mean anything. I'm only using it so you can see me.
But I don't want to see you. I don't want you here. Just go away.
Please, Meghan, please. All I ask is that you listen. It would mean so much to me. That's a pretty dress you're wearing. A party dress. You're getting ready for your party?
Huh?
You're wondering how I know about your birthday. I know because it's my birthday too. We share that. That's one of the reasons I can talk to you. But we weren't born in the same year.
When? When were you born?
1930.
1930. 61 years ago?
That dress really is pretty. I had a new dress for my 16th birthday party too. My dress was blue like yours, but a darker shade. Like the night sky. It was taffeta. It crackled when I walked. I loved that sound. I was having an orchestra at my party, and colored lanterns strung above the lawn, and napkins with my initials on them. But I never had my party. It was canceled.
Canceled? Why?
There was an accident. A bad one.
An accident?
A boating accident out there on the lake, in that cove just around the bend. Do you know the place?
Meghan knew it well. Most lake people avoided it because of the rocks, some jutting up above the water, most hidden beneath it. The cove had a history of boat wrecks and drownings. Was Juliet saying she was a part of that tragic history?
Our boat hit a rock. I was thrown overboard and knocked unconscious. By the time I was pulled from the water, it was too late. I never made it to my party. But that was all a long time ago. 46 years ago. Such a long time. I would have been 16 the day of my party. Like you, Meghan. Sweet 16. I'd been planning that party for ages. I was sure it meant all the fun would begin. I was pretty, and so very popular. But that horrid accident took my life from me before I ever had a chance to live it.
No, oh no. But this isn't happening. This is not happening.
Oh, dear. I've made you cry again. I shouldn't have upset you. I'll leave now. But I'll come back another time. Thank you for listening to me, Meghan. Most people wouldn't have.
And before Meghan could cry out, the light in the mirror dimmed and went out, and the mirror was clear again. There was nothing in it but the reflection of a girl seated on the bed in the now bright light, shaking violently beneath a blue print quilt, her face streaked with tears. The next morning, Thursday, the sky was still a sullen gray, and the heat was still suffocating the town. When Meghan Logan awoke and remembered the events of the night before, her eyes flew to the mirror. Except for her own sleepy-eyed reflection, it was empty. Meghan felt like she'd slept in a sauna. Her head ached, her skin felt sticky, and her hair was matted to her head. She thought immediately of her friends. Were they okay? She hoped her parents had heard something. After a shower, she got ready for school. As she pulled on white shorts and a pale yellow top, her eyes returned repeatedly to the big mirror. Although there was nothing there now, something that didn't belong had entered the room uninvited. It was gone now, but the sense of it remained.
I must have dreamed the whole thing because I was so upset about the accident. But it was all so real. I can remember every second of it so clearly.
Slipping her feet into a pair of sandals, she pulled her thick mass of curls into a ponytail and fastened it with a yellow clip. The shower had done nothing to ease the headache. The pounding behind her eyes was relentless. When she left the room, her blue denim bag hanging from her shoulder, she couldn't resist glancing one more time into the wooden-framed glass. There was nothing in it but the reflection of herself. As she closed the bedroom door behind her, Meghan hoped that when she came home later that day, her room would feel like her own again. Downstairs over breakfast, Meghan questioned her mother about her friends. Mrs. Logan had found out only that they were all still alive. Meghan learned nothing new until lunch period, when she met Justin and Hillary on the back lawn of Philippa Moore that sloped down to the lake.
I talked to Mrs. Wynne this morning. Barb's okay. She was thrown clear and landed on grass. She's going home today. Cappy has a broken wrist and a lot of bruises, but Jenny wasn't so lucky. She has a really awful head injury, and her collarbone was shattered. Mrs. Wynne was crying the whole time we were talking. Meg, you all right? You look awfully pale.
I'm fine, really. It's just a headache. I woke up with it this morning and it wouldn't go away.
I'm not surprised. Here, eat something. Might make you feel better.
Yeah, you're right. I will.
The news about Jenny wasn't the only thing on Meghan's mind. There was the awful dream of Juliet. And worse than that, the feeling that she was being watched. She had felt eyes on her all morning, following her every move. She had to keep fighting the urge to keep glancing over her shoulder. It was spooky. Now, almost the entire student body of Philippa Moore was sprawled around them across the embankment lawn, studying or talking softly while they ate.
I don't get it. Jenny's a good driver. And it wasn't raining yesterday, no slippery roads. Anybody hear how it happened?
Mrs. Wynne told me that when they hit that curve, Jenny steered round it just like she always did. But nothing happened. Barbie told her mother the car just wouldn't turn. It went straight into that utility pole like it had a mind of its own.
Sounds like the steering went.
Yeah, well, maybe. Mrs. Wynne said the sheriff is checking out the car.
Jenny could be out of commission for a long time. She's going to go stir crazy in that hospital.
Well, as soon as she can have visitors, we'll just have to see that she doesn't get lonely.
If anybody can cheer her up, Meg, you can. You're good at that.
Well, I think it all stinks. School's almost over and Jenny won't get to finish out the year. Oh, let's not talk about this anymore. It's too depressing. Hey, guess who asked me out this morning?
Now, who do we know without a single shred of taste?
Oh, very funny, Justin. Donnie Richardson. He asked me to a movie. Isn't that a hoot?
Johnny? He's too short for you. It is definitely not your type.
Oh, tell me about it.
What did you tell him?
I said not in this lifetime. The guy has a personality of a hangnail.
Hell,
Did you have to be so cruel? You could have been a little bit nicer.
If you're polite with guys like Donnie, they never give up.
Well, I think you could have been more tactful. Although we know that tact isn't among your limited virtues, Bench. Donnie's not a bad guy, and the girls in the school treat him like dirt. I was with Jenny a couple of weeks ago when Donnie asked her to a movie. She was more polite than you, Hill, but he stomped off down the hall like he was squashing bugs. He was not happy.
He asked Jenny out? Jenny win?
Yeah.
I think he asked Cappy out, too. I saw Marguerite in the hall last week. I thought it was pretty funny. Now I'm not so sure.
I feel sorry for Donnie. Nobody likes him. And I think his home life stinks. His parents are divorced, and he moves back and forth between 2 different homes. That can't be much fun.
My parents are divorced, too, but I'm not a dweeb like Donnie.
Sure you are. You're just prettier than Donnie.
Oh, no.
It must be awful to be so unpopular.
Oh, Megan, you're always feeling sorry for people. You just don't get it that there's some really crummy people out there who don't have good excuses for the rotten way they act. Get with the program, will you?
That's what makes you so lovable. That's part of Meg's charm.
Thanks, Justin.
Oh, you guys, you make me sick.
Before they went back into school, Meghan turned to look back at the group still on the lawn. No one seemed to be paying any particular attention to her. So why did she have this feeling that she was a specimen under a microscope? It gave her goosebumps. Later that afternoon, on her way to art class, Meghan passed Donnie Richardson in the hall. She found herself smiling at him with more warmth than usual. He looked surprised. Meghan had a feeling that even if he had returned her smile, it wouldn't have reached his eyes. They seemed so cold and empty. When she reached the art room, she went straight to her assigned cubbyhole at the rear of the room. There was a square of red construction paper sticking halfway out next to her box of pastels. Meghan frowned. She hadn't used red construction paper lately. Curious, she slid the paper out of the cubbyhole and looked at it. What she saw was a crude, childish drawing of a large yellow convertible. Seated in the driver's seat of the crudely drawn car was a horse. On the passenger side of the front seat sat what looked like a large candy bar beside a fat yellow and black striped blob with wings. A bumblebee. What on earth? Her eyes moved to the back seat. A hat of some kind was drawn there, with a visor. A baseball cap? There was a small green ball beside it. A green baseball? No. It looked more like an oversized green pea. As people began to file into the big art room, Meghan studied the picture carefully. It was a simple puzzle. The car was clearly Jenny's. The candy bar and the bumblebee were easy. Bar, bee, Barbie. And the cap and the pea meant Cappy. But why was there a horse in the driver's seat? What kind of twisted mind would draw such a sick picture about a tragic accident? And why was it in Meghan's cubbyhole? Was it a joke? If it was, someone at Philippa had a very bizarre sense of humor. Shivering, Meghan stuffed the drawing into her notebook and took her place for the class. When she got home that afternoon, Meghan approached her bedroom door with hesitation. It had been almost a whole day since the dream. Would the room still feel strange? Slowly, Meghan pulled the door open and stood in the hallway, listening, searching all 4 corners with her eyes. There was nothing out of the ordinary. Meghan stepped inside and closed the door. At last, she let herself glance into the full-length mirror. It was empty. Of course it is, she told herself. She had just turned around when the curtains began blowing wildly and she was hit by a blast of frigid air. Her room darkened and became shrouded in shadow. Juliet had returned.
Meghan Logan.
Oh, no. I wasn't dreaming after all.
Meghan sank down on the bed, drawing the comforter around her against the chill.
What are you doing here?
I came to talk. Will you listen, Meghan Logan? Please?
Why are you here? You don't belong here.
Why can't you accept me? I'm not going to hurt you.
Leave me alone. You're scaring me.
Well, I'm not trying to scare you. I thought you'd talk to me because you have an open mind. I know everything about you. When I found out that we shared a birthday, I studied you carefully.
You've been watching me?
I can't talk to just anyone. Has to be someone exactly my age. Someone near the lake where I died. Someone with an open mind and a kind heart. Someone with imagination and a belief that anything's possible. Someone just like you, Meghan Logan. But I made myself wait to talk to you so you'd have time to settle into this house. I was scared that if I showed up too soon, I'd frighten you off. This was your grandmother's house. Martha's house. She left it to your mother when she died a while ago.
Meghan felt a chill ripple down her spine. How could Juliet know so much about her? All Meghan knew about the thing in her mirror was that it had lived and died, and it was lonely.
Oh, it's been hard not to give up hope. All this time.
Hope? Of what?
Of having someone to talk with. Of reaching someone. Of trading.
Trading? Trading what?
Nothing. Never mind. Let's talk about your party.
But this can't be happening. How did you get here?
It was easy. I had to be here. You're my only chance.
But it's not possible.
Anything is possible, Meghan. You believe that, don't you? Isn't that what your grandmother Martha always said?
Meghan's mouth dropped open in amazement. It was. Graham had said, "Believe in everything, Meghan, until you learn otherwise. Anything is possible in this world. You remember that." Slowly, Meghan's fear began to melt away, to be replaced by complete bewilderment.
Did you know my grandmother? Before your accident, I mean.
I didn't know her very well. I wasn't here on the lake that long. I think she was like you. Quiet, dreamy. Oh, I envy you, Meghan. You'll have the wonderful party I never had. You'll get to live those years full of fun. Parties, dances, boyfriends. I missed all of that.
Tears pooled in Meghan's eyes. Jenny and Barb and Cappy had all nearly lost their lives, too, like Juliet. What would that be like, to have your life end so young? The thought made her pull the comforter more closely around her.
Are you cold, Meghan?
No. Just feeling sad. It isn't fair that your life ended so early.
I knew you'd understand. I think it was unfair, too. That's why I can't be at peace. If only... Oh, no, never mind. Oh, you're not ready. It's too soon.
If only what?
Well, I really think you need more time. But since I don't have much, I'll go ahead and explain. My life ended too soon, Meghan. That's not ever supposed to happen. But I have a chance to make up for that now. If I can find someone who shares a birthday with me, and if that person can hear me, I can ask her to switch places with me for just one short week. I can ask for her willing consent to let me live her life for 7 days and 7 nights. That's what I want to ask of you.
Trade places? What are you talking about?
It's really easy, Meghan, and it would only be for a week. A week when I'd have the chance to live the most fun time in a girl's life. Compared to a lifetime, a week really isn't much. But it would be enough for me. At the end of the week, I'd go away. I'd be at peace then forever. Meghan, I scared you. I'm sorry. I knew I shouldn't have told you so soon, but I don't have very much time. Just think about it, please. I'll come back again later. And thank you for listening to me.
The light in the mirror faded and vanished. Meghan was alone. For a long time, she sat still on the bed, staring at the wooden-framed glass. When Hillary called later, Meghan kept silent about Juliet. One word about her, and practical-minded Hillary would think Meghan was losing her marbles. Fortunately, Hillary had other things on her mind.
My mom talked to Mrs. Wynne today. Jenny's regained consciousness. They think she's going to be okay.
Thank God.
The worst thing, Meghan, is that it wasn't an accident. Somebody screwed up the steering on Jenny's car.
Hillary, are you sure?
Sheriff Toomey's sure. My parents are really freaked out.
This is unreal. Who would do something so horrible?
Maybe a rejected boyfriend? Like the famous Donnie Richardson, for instance? Practically every girl in school has turned him down lately. Maybe he hates all of us. And doesn't he work in his brother's garage? It has to be someone who knows auto mechanics.
Hillary. Practically everyone at Philippa took auto mechanics, including most of the girls.
Well, I don't know about you, Megan, but when I took it, I certainly didn't learn how to kill someone by sabotaging a car.
When Meghan had hung up, she sat thinking over Hillary's news. It was really tough to swallow. Someone had deliberately caused the car wreck? Whoever it was couldn't possibly have known the three girls would survive. The tampering had been intended to kill. Suddenly, Meghan remembered the crude crayon drawing of the yellow car and its weird cargo. It was still in her notebook. She had thought of it as a cruel, sick joke. Now she realized it could have been placed in her art room cubbyhole before the accident had even happened, which would make it not a cruel joke, but a warning. Should she take the drawing to Sheriff Toomey?
He's a nice man. But if I bring him evidence that looks like a child's drawing, he'll probably laugh and say I'm just wasting his time. I'll have to think about it.
Exhausted, Meghan began getting ready for bed. She had just slipped into a pair of white shorty pajamas when the temperature in her room plummeted again. She wrapped a blanket around her shoulders and turned to face the mirror. It began to glow, and Juliet took shape. Warily, Meghan sat on the floor in front of the mirror.
Meghan, I hope what I told you before didn't upset you. You've been so nice listening to me.
What do you want from me? I hope you don't think I'm going to do that trading thing you talked about.
You won't even consider it? But I thought you had an open mind, Meghan. I thought you believed anything was possible, as Martha did. And it's so simple.
Simple? How?
You would step into the mirror, and I would step out, as you. What could be simpler?
It can't be that easy.
All of the hard parts come first, Meghan. Finding someone who lives near the lake and shares my birthday, and then getting her to listen to me, and getting her consent to switch is the hardest thing of all. People are too afraid of the unknown.
That's for sure.
It would only be for a week, Meghan, and it's not so bad in my world.
But if you would look like me, does that mean I would look like you?
You wouldn't have any physical form at all. I'm only like this, a wispy shadow in your mirror, so you can see me. I would be able to hear you, and you could talk to me at any time. But no one else would see or hear you.
It's just too strange, Juliet. You need someone braver than me.
You are brave, Meghan, or you wouldn't have heard me in the first place. Oh, Meghan, I thought you understood. I can't use anybody else. Only you. Because you live here. Because of our shared birthday. I really thought you believed that anything is possible.
Even if I were willing, which I'm not, this would be the wrong time to trade places with me, Juliet. Someone deliberately hurt some of my friends. I could be next. You could be putting yourself in danger.
I don't have any choice. You have to be my exact age, 15. So even 1 minute past your 16th birthday is too late for me. We only have until the clock strikes midnight on Saturday. Unless I get your consent before then, my one chance will disappear. If you won't help, I'll disappear forever, and I'll never know peace. So the danger you talk about doesn't matter to me. I'm willing to take that risk.
But what about me? If I decided to trade with you and something bad happened to my body while you were in it, what would become of me?
Actually, Meghan, you'll be safer. I can sense evil in people. I'd never let anyone like that get close enough to hurt me, so you wouldn't have to worry.
You mean you would know who hurt my friends?
I think so. I can't promise, but I think so.
Meghan sat lost in thought. What had happened to Juliet was horrible, tragic, and so unfair. No one should die so young. It wasn't right. It just wasn't right at all.
Maybe I'll think about it. But that's a maybe, understand?
Oh, of course, Meghan. Maybe gives me hope. When my father said maybe, he almost always meant yes. But please, Meghan, use your open mind and your kind heart, okay? I'll come back when you've had time to think. Good night, Meghan. And thank you. Thank you for listening.
Meghan sat at the window looking out over the lake for a long time, thinking about Juliet's proposal. When she finally got up and crawled into bed, she slept poorly, tossing and turning all night, her nightclothes and hair soaked with sweat. The next morning, when Justin stopped to pick up Meghan on his way to school, she decided to talk to him about Juliet.
Morning, Meg.
Morning. Justin? What do you think happens to a person after they die? Do you think their spirit stays around?
Those are pretty strange questions, Meg. Thinking about Jenny's accident.
Well, it's just... something weird is going on at my house.
At your house? Listen, your house is probably the only place in town where weird things aren't happening. Someone screwed up Jenny's steering. Now that's weird.
Justin,
So tell me something. Do you really think Donnie Richardson's behind this stuff?
I don't know. I don't think so. I told him no when he asked me out, and nothing bad has happened to me.
What? Donnie asked you out? You didn't say anything about that yesterday.
Hill would have made a big deal out of it, and it wasn't a big deal. He asked me out, and I said, no thanks.
How did he take it?
Okay, I guess.
Look, just steer clear of him, okay? His alphabet might be missing some of its letters.
Justin, have you ever heard of any famous horse named Jenny? A champion racer, maybe?
No? Why?
As Justin parked in front of the high school, Meghan showed him the drawing.
Weird.
I figured out Barbie and Cappy, but why is the horse where Jenny should be?
What? That's not a horse. Oh, look at the ears. It's a mule. Know what a female mule is called?
A Jenny.
Right. Where'd you get this, Meghan?
I found it yesterday in my art cubbyhole.
I got an errand to do at lunchtime, so I can't see you then. Come to the scribe office after school, Meg. Don't forget. We'll talk about your artist friend then.
The Scribe was Philippa's newspaper, and Justin was its editor. As Meghan followed Justin up the steps to the main entrance of the high school, the feeling of being watched slipped over her again. She tried ignoring it, in vain. Yet each time she glanced around, no one seemed to be paying the slightest bit of attention to her. At lunch, Meghan met Hillary again on the embankment.
Hey, guess who's back, Meg?
Who?
That viper, Vicky Deans. The snake only got 1 week suspension for cheating on that Spanish test. I was hoping they suspend her for life.
Just ignore her. She's not in any of your classes, is she?
She's in my life, Megan. She makes my skin crawl. I know Ken Waters was going to take me to your party. He hadn't asked me yet, but I could tell. One look at tricky Vicky in that red halter top she's glued into, and Hillary Bench is history.
Oh, Hill.
Meghan didn't want Vicky Deems at her party. Maybe she was just jealous, she thought. Vicky was sexy, sophisticated, everything Meghan felt she was not. Thank goodness Justin wasn't interested in that type. Or was he? Hadn't he called Karen Tucker sexy? Compared to Vicky Deems, Karen was Snow White. But it wasn't jealousy that made Meghan nervous around Vicky. It was the way those cold, dark eyes looked at a boy that made Meghan shiver. Black spider eyes spotting a nice, juicy fly. After school, Meghan stopped by the art room to check her cubbyhole just in case. She found another drawing. Her stomach lurched. This one was on dark blue paper, nothing more than a simple curved line in bright pink crayon, like a giant bump on the paper. That was all. It looked like a mound or a hill. Hillary! Meghan raced to the auditorium where Hillary and a boy from the lighting crew were tying up loose ends after last week's junior class play. Breathless, her heart pounding furiously in her chest, Meghan ran down the wide center aisle in the auditorium. Glancing up, she watched Hillary lean out over the catwalk high above the stage to retrieve a loose rope and fall. As Hillary plunged toward the hard wooden stage, one of her grasping hands came into contact with a rope dangling on her left. The hand grabbed and held. There was a moment of breathless silence as the two onlookers stood paralyzed with shock below their dangling friend.
Help! Get me down! Hurry! I can't hold on!
Quick, Alan! A
Right.
Hang on, Hillary, don't let go. Alan's bringing the ladder. Hang on.
I'm coming now. Hey, hold on. Okay. I've got you. Put one foot on the ladder. Just put... That's it. And the other one. That's it. Okay, let's go.
All right.
Take it easy.
What happened, Hill? Did you slip? No, I didn't slip. I was pushed. Pushed? Of course I was pushed. I certainly didn't jump. Ken Waters isn't that great. Did either of you see who it was?
I didn't. I was upstage, sweeping. I couldn't see the catwalk from there.
And I was too far back in the auditorium to see or hear anything, except when you fell. I don't like this at all, Hill. Honestly, if you hadn't grabbed that rope...
You probably fell, Bench.
I did not fall, Alan. I'm not a falling sort of person. Someone pushed me. I'm reporting this to Mr. Shattuck.
He'll just blow it off, Hill. Nobody saw anything.
I don't care. I felt it. I've had enough. I'm out of here. You coming with me, Megan?
Of course I'm coming, Hillary. Here, let me carry your stuff. You're not going to pass out, are you?
No, I'm not going to pass out. If I were a passing out kind of person, I'd have done it when I was hanging from that rope like a piece of meat in a butcher's shop. And I can carry my own things. Megan, you believe I was pushed, don't you? I mean, I wouldn't make up something like that.
Of course I believe you.
Well, don't you think it's scary? First, there's Jenny's accident, which turns out not to be an accident at all. And now someone sends me off into space from the catwalk. Something really nasty is going on here.
Meghan wasn't listening. She was lost in her thoughts. Why would someone push Hillary, knowing that such a fall would kill her? And it had to be the same person who was drawing those pictures. Someone at the school, someone who had access to the art room. Donnie, rejected by so many girls? Vicky Deems, viper extraordinaire, who always had that cold, hungry look in her eyes? Was she viciously trying to destroy the competition and keep all the boys for herself? When they reached their lockers in the long entrance hallway, Hillary was still angry.
Alan's right. It's no use telling Mr. Shattuck about this. He wouldn't believe me. So I wouldn't have it investigated, and whoever pushed me will get away with it, just like he's getting away with the car tampering.
Hill, he won't get away with it. The sheriff is still investigating, according to my mom.
Yeah.
Are you sure you're okay? Your face is the color of my old gym socks.
I'm fine. I'm just mad now. Quit worrying. I'm gonna call my mom and have her pick me up. I don't feel like walking home tonight.
Good idea. I'll wait for her with you on the steps.
After Hillary had been deposited safely in her mother's car, Meghan went to look for Justin in the scribe office, her mind in turmoil. Why was all this happening? In the past 2 days, 4 girls had narrowly escaped death, and every one of them was a good friend of Meghan's. Was she in danger too? The door to the scribe office was open when she arrived. As she stepped inside, the tiny hairs on the back of her neck rose. Justin was seated at his desk as usual, a pencil nestling over one ear. But seated on his desk, not at all as usual, was Vicky Deems. A bright red halter top and black leather miniskirt fitted snugly around her beautiful body. She was leaning forward, whispering in Justin's ear. Meghan froze in the doorway. Then Vicky turned and saw her.
Oh, hello, Meghan.
Meghan. Hi.
Meghan turned and ran.
Meghan? Meghan?
She kept going. She ran all the way home in a vain effort to escape 2 awful images. One was of Hillary plunging toward the stage. The other was of Justin, with his head close to Vicky's. That one filled her with fury. When she was safe in her own room, she grimly put all such thoughts out of her head. She had more important things to think about. Because ever since Hillary's nearly fatal fall, Meghan had known that she was going to trade places with Juliet. The idea no longer seemed so crazy to her now, so impossible. All Juliet wanted was one tiny little week. That wasn't very much. Meghan's gratitude that Hillary had been saved made her feel generous. What was a week, anyway? Practically nothing. Dropping her books and purse on the bed, Meghan took a deep breath and walked over to the mirror.
Juliet, are you there? I want to talk to you.
But the mirror remained clear. There was nothing but glass and Meghan's own reflection. That night, Meghan awoke from a terrifying nightmare. She was caught in a vast spider's web, and off in the distance a giant spider approached slowly on thick, black, hairy legs. Meghan thrashed and moaned, but the web held. Somewhere in the distance she heard her name called softly, but she was powerless to answer. Panicking halfway between sleep and wakefulness, she bolted upright in bed, suddenly wide awake. Stunned, she looked around her, but could see nothing in the pitch black. Her stomach lurched, her head ached with a pain that hurt her eyes, and she was very, very cold. And then she realized that the cold came from the now familiar plunge in the room's temperature. Meghan shivered, wrapping her arms around her chest, watching numbly as the mirror across the room began to fill with a shimmering lavender image.
I'm sorry I didn't come earlier. I heard you calling me, but I was scared you decided not to trade, and I couldn't stand to hear you say it. Meghan, what's wrong? You look awful.
I'm okay. Juliet, I thought about it. I want you to explain again about trading.
You do?
Yes. Exactly how would we do it? Tell me everything.
Oh, it's so easy. Once you agree, all you have to do is step into this mirror, and I will step out as you. It takes only a second.
And I will be invisible, but you will be able to hear me?
Yes, and nothing from your world can touch you.
But it can touch you. And you will be me. That scares me, Juliet. Are you sure you can protect yourself better than I could?
Yes, Meghan, I'm sure. I'll be careful. But you can't tell anyone about this, Meghan. That would ruin everything. You're the only one who must know about it. No one else.
You think you know enough about me to act and talk like me?
I will be you, Meghan. I will look like you and talk exactly like you. But inside, I'll still be me. And you'll still be you. No one can take your real inner self from you.
We would have to practice switching before I agreed.
Of course, there's nothing to it. You step into the mirror and I step out, as you. And you can go anywhere you want, as long as you don't leave the lake area.
Juliet was right. There wasn't anything to it. They switched back and forth 4 times without a hitch. The strangest part was looking out from inside the mirror and seeing her physical self, now Juliet, standing there before her. Meghan felt nothing but a peculiar sense of weightlessness, the way she imagined a soap bubble might feel. When Meghan wanted to be herself again, she simply said, "I am Meghan, and I want to be me again." And she was. After the 4th trial was completed, Juliet was quivering with excitement.
Oh, when can we do this, Meghan? It has to be soon. There's hardly any time left before your birthday.
I've already decided. It has to be tomorrow night. You'll have a full week, and we'll switch back again next Saturday night in time for my party on Sunday. I have to be at my party.
I can't believe it! At last! Oh, it's going to be so wonderful. I'm going to have a whole week. And you won't change your mind, will you, Meghan?
No, Juliet, I'll not change my mind.
Then I'll go now. Oh, I'm so excited. I hope the day passes quickly. Just call my name when you're ready, and I'll be here. And Meghan, thank you. Thank you.
Meghan spent the next day running errands in preparation for her party. In the afternoon, Hillary called to tell her that Jenny still wasn't allowed visitors, and that there was no news from Sheriff Toomey. She doubted that he had even questioned anyone yet. Justin called twice. Calls Meghan didn't return. Let Juliet deal with him. Juliet would have to ask him to Meghan's party, too, because it was the only thing left undone on her list. Walking over to the mirror after dusk, her knees trembling, Meghan called Juliet's name softly. The writhing, pulsating form appeared almost at once.
Here I am. Are you ready, Meghan?
Before we do this, Juliet, there's just one more thing. I was wondering if...
Yes, I'll ask Justin to your party, and he will say yes, don't worry. Anything else?
No, nothing else.
Then let's do it, okay?
Okay. Here I go.
To Meghan's distress, the sensations that came with the final transformation were very different from the practice switches. Instead of the lightness she'd felt before, there was a horrible wrenching sensation, as if steel arms were tugging and tearing at her. Then the awful sensations passed, leaving her with no feeling at all. The blackness in which she found herself was unrelieved and icy cold. Beyond the darkness, she could see her room, but it seemed very far away, as if she were looking through a telescope.
Juliet! Juliet, are you there? I don't see you. Where are you?
I'm right here, Meghan. I hear you. Relax. Remember, you can talk to me anytime you want.
What have I done? Juliet, I feel terrible, so far away from everything. It's not like it was when we practiced. Why does it feel so different now?
It's because you're not practicing this time, Meghan. But you'll feel better soon, don't worry.
Juliet was touching her cheeks, her hair, her arms, with wonderment. A radiant smile lit her face.
Oh, I can't believe this. I'm going to have such a wonderful time.
You better chill out, Juliet. I'm not a bouncing off the walls person. People will be suspicious.
You're right. I'll try. But I'm so excited. And right now I'm off to the bathroom to take a wonderful bath and put on just a tiny bit more makeup. Then I'm off. This is Saturday night. I've got places to go, people to see. Meghan, thank you. You won't be sorry.
But Meghan was already sorry, and scared. Before she could utter any one of the 1,000 new questions spinning around her, Juliet, with a happy wave and an equally happy smile, was gone. The thud of the closing bedroom door felt to Meghan like the closing of a tomb.
This is horrible. Like being sucked into a bottomless pit. I'll never be able to stand this for 7 whole days. No, I'm overreacting. Being silly. I'll just get out of this dark, cold mirror and everything will be fine. Just like Juliet said.
But it wasn't. When she left the mirror, the sensation of being totally separated from the world she knew was devastating.
No one can see me. No one can hear me. As far as the world is concerned, I'm not here. Is this how Juliet felt all those years? So isolated? How lonely it feels. Not to be part of the world.
The only way to ease the feeling was to go where there were people. There was no reason for her to stay in the bedroom alone. So Meghan went downstairs. Her family was gathered in the kitchen. Meghan remembered then that her younger brother Thomas was in a play that night. He had the lead in a production of Peter Pan at Circle in the Square Theater. Watching her family so easily accepting Juliet in her body made her anxious.
I'm watching myself eat and laugh and talk. But it's not me. It's Juliet. And no one in this room knows that but the 2 of us. How can my parents not know? Can't they see that Juliet is laughing and talking more than I do? Look at that makeup. She looks like someone straight out of a 40s movie. I should have gone into the bathroom with her and helped her out.
I'm starving. It's not my fault.
Hey, you two.
You're not wearing all that goop to my play, are you?
Play? I'm not going to any play. I'm going to the mall.
Oh, no.
You're not going to the play? But we've planned this all week. I thought you and Justin had agreed to meet there. Well, isn't he doing a story on it for the school paper? And Hillary will be there, too.
Juliet, we've been planning for weeks to go to this play tonight.
Oh, I was just kidding. Of course I'm going to the play. I wouldn't miss it. It'll be fun.
Well, good. Because we definitely don't want you wandering around town by yourself. Not until Sheriff Toomey can tell us there's no risk involved. You'll be safe with us at the theater, and I won't have to worry.
So are you nervous, Tom?
Meghan watched her family while they finished eating. It was so much harder than she thought it would be. Watching Juliet as Meghan Logan made her feel the way she'd felt in the Spider nightmare. Trapped, imprisoned. And knowing that she couldn't reach out and touch her parents, touch Thomas, increased her sense of desolation. Later, frightened and more lonely than she had ever been, Meghan followed her family to the Circle in the Square Theater. The theater was air-conditioned and packed. When the Logans had taken their place in the front row seats, Hillary joined them.
Oh, there you are. Hello, Mrs. Logan. Mr. Logan.
Hello, Hillary.
Hey, Megan. What's with the war paint? Have you been sampling the goodies at Farm Arts Cosmetics counter?
I thought it was time for a change. I am going to be 16, Hillary.
Have you seen Justin?
He's parking. He'll be here in a minute. So, did you ask his royal cuteness to be your birthday date yet?
I'm asking him tonight, and he'll say yes.
Wow! I guess it's true what the ads say about makeup. You are a new woman.
If Justin was surprised by the enthusiastic reception Juliet gave him when he arrived, he hid it well. At intermission in the lobby, Meghan watched miserably as Juliet chattered, laughed at his quips, and held his hand the whole time. Justin certainly seemed to be enjoying himself. But seeing Juliet having such a good time with him was hard to take. Meghan now realized that it was going to be the longest week she'd ever known. After the play, Mrs. Logan insisted that everyone come back to the house, squelching Juliet's plans to be alone with Justin.
Oh, Mom!
I know you think I'm a worrywart, but I'd really feel better if you were at the house. Humor me, okay? Justin and Hillary can come along, too.
But it's Saturday night. Everyone will be at the mall.
I don't think so. I talked to a lot of the other parents here tonight, and they're keeping their kids home, too. It's just for a few days, honey, until Sheriff Toomey catches whoever tampered with Jenny's car and pushed poor Hillary off that catwalk. I'm sure everything will be back to normal in time for your birthday party.
All right.
When they got to the house, Thomas and his father took the boat out on the lake. Mrs. Logan went down on the dock to relax and enjoy the night sky, and Justin talked Hillary and Juliet into watching a science fiction movie in the den. Justin seemed to be enjoying Juliet's company a lot. Meghan began to wonder if he would be disappointed when the week was up and the old Meghan returned. Hillary, Meghan noticed, didn't seem to be having very much fun, though. She looked almost as lost and lonely as Meghan felt. And she kept looking at Juliet, obviously confused by her un-Meghan-like behavior.
Poor Hill can't understand why all of a sudden I miss personality. I wish I could have told her what was going on.
Meghan decided to join her brother and father out on the lake. Maybe being out in the open would ease her misery. The lake was crowded with boaters trying to escape the heat, including many of Meghan's friends. Barbie Wynne, a bandage across one side of her face, went by in a canoe with her boyfriend. And Donnie Richardson, in a boat crowded with people Meghan guessed were relatives. There was the boy who had rescued Hillary with a ladder. And Vicky Deans, surrounded by boys Meghan didn't recognize. Unfortunately, Meghan found that being outside on the lake did nothing to help her mood. And when her father aimed the boat toward home, Meghan went too. As they neared the dock, something in the water caught her attention. Meghan moved to get a closer look. What was it? A tree branch? Remnants of someone's lakeside picnic? Meghan saw hair, splayed like seaweed on the water. She saw 2 arms, 2 legs. A voiceless scream soared up through her. It was her mother, floating face down and unconscious on the water.
Mom! Mom! Dad! Mom's in the water! Look there!
Connie! Oh, my God! Come on, Tom. Help me get her out. Here, turn her over. Turn. Okay, keep her head up. Keep her head up. Oh, it's all right, Tom. Just keep. That's it. Good boy. Come on, up on the grass here.
Watching Thomas and her father lifting her mother's limp form from the water and carrying it up the embankment, Meghan felt as helpless as she'd felt in the spiderweb dream. She wanted desperately to help her family. There was only one way she could do that. She raced up to the house. Juliet was in the den with Justin. They were seated very close together on the velvet settee. Hillary was nowhere in sight.
Juliet, quick! Dial 911! It's Mom! In the lake! She's hurt! Hurry! I'll tell you what to say!
Juliet flew off the settee and rushed to the telephone. A moment later, Thomas ran into the room.
Meghan! Justin! Mom's hurt!
What? Hurt? How?
She was floating in the water. She wasn't breathing. Dad's doing CPR on her right now, but she hasn't moved.
Emergency services will be here right away. I told them to come straight down to the dock.
Right. Let's go.
Okay.
Together, they ran out of the house and down the slope toward the lake and the 2 figures beside it. As they raced through the darkness, Justin turned to Juliet.
Meghan, do you have a crystal ball you haven't told me about?
What?
You'd already gone to the phone before Thomas came in. How did you know something was wrong?
Oh, I saw them through the den window. I just knew.
When they reached the dock, Meghan's mother was half sitting, half lying against her husband's chest. Although she was choking and gasping for breath, they were all relieved to see that she was conscious.
Mom, you okay, Mom? What happened?
I was sitting on the dock, enjoying the lights out on the water, and something hard hit me from behind. That's all I remember. Like they say in the movies, everything went black.
There's blood in your hair, Connie. We'd better get you to the hospital and let them have a look. Hey, over here!
When Mrs. Logan was in the ambulance, Meghan's father climbed in. Meghan rode with them to the medical center. Justin followed in his car with Juliet and Thomas. After Constance Logan had been examined and comfortably installed in a hospital bed, a thick white bandage on the back of her head, Justin drove the other Logans back to their lakeside house. When Juliet had told Justin goodnight and gone upstairs, Meghan followed. Juliet was searching through Meghan's denim shoulder bag for the hairbrush, scattering papers and old tissues every which way on the bed. When she found the brush, Juliet began to brush the dark curls absent-mindedly.
Juliet, I'm scared. Seeing my mother lying there in the water made me realize how helpless I am like this. I couldn't pull her out, and I couldn't scream. It was really terrible. I don't ever want to feel like that again. We have to switch back now.
What? Oh, no, Meghan. You can't mean that. I haven't even had a whole day yet.
I know, and I'm sorry, but I didn't expect anything like this to happen. Not being able to help my mother, Juliet, it was horrible.
Oh, Meghan, please don't do this. Your mother's going to be fine. The doctor said so. This means so much to me. It's the only chance I'll ever have. I'll help take care of your mother for you, I promise.
Juliet, it's such a bad time.
Oh, Meghan, I told you there isn't another time for me. Any other time will be too late for me. Too late. Too late.
All right. We won't switch back tonight. Now stop crying, okay?
You mean it, Meghan?
I guess so. We'll give it a little more time. But if anything else bad happens, Juliet, to my family or my friends, we're trading back.
Of course, Meghan. But no more bad things are going to happen. I can feel it. Everything's going to be fine.
Happy again, Juliet slipped into Meghan's white pajamas and climbed into bed.
And remember, Meghan, if we hadn't switched, you wouldn't have been down on the dock to find your mother and rush up to the house to call for help. So it's not all bad, is it? Being me, I mean. Oh, by the way, Meghan, when Hillary left, I asked Justin to your party, and he said yes. So now you can quit worrying. Everything's going to be great. Your mom will be fine, and Justin is coming to your party. So relax, okay?
Juliet, what happened to Hillary tonight? Why did she go home so early?
Oh, I guess she felt like a third wheel. Good night, Meghan. See you tomorrow.
A minute later, Juliet was sound asleep. Just then, something on the carpet beside the bed caught Meghan's attention. She knew what it was immediately. Another drawing. The picture was on lime green paper. There were two crude crayon drawings. One was of a man in a prison uniform, a convict. The second drawing was of a leg, awkwardly bent to emphasize the knee. Knee. Connie. Mom. Meghan remembered Juliet pulling things out of her shoulder bag. The drawing must have been in there. But how had it got there? The mall. Someone must have slipped it into her purse when she was there. If only she had noticed the drawing sooner, then she could have done something to protect her mother. At least her mother was alive and was going to be okay. She'd be home tomorrow, safe and sound. But it might not be over. What if there was another attack? This time on Juliet? If something happened to prevent their trade on Saturday night, what would become of Meghan? Meghan had to know, and she had to know now.
Juliet, wake up, Juliet. I have to talk to you.
What? What is it, Meghan?
There's one thing you haven't told me. What if something happens to my body while you're in it? I need to know that, Juliet.
If something happened to your body, you'd be trapped in my world.
You weren't even gonna tell me, were you?
I didn't want frighten you, Meghan. 'Cause nothing bad could happen to me. I can steer clear of evil better than you can. Your body is safer with me than it would be with you.
What Juliet was saying was too terrifying to comprehend. Meghan went out on the terrace roof to try to calm herself. Everything was perfectly still. Not a leaf stirred. The lake was quiet, lying between the two shores like a giant ink stain. One by one, the lights in the houses bordering the lake went out, until with no moon visible, the darkness was complete. Meghan had never felt so alone in her life. The following morning, Meghan called Juliet's attention to the drawings.
Keep your eyes open for more of these. If someone else is going to get hurt, you might get another one. Check the art cubbyhole every day. And Juliet, I think Mom is right. I don't think it's a good idea to go out alone. It might not be safe.
Don't worry. I won't be alone, Meghan. I'll be with Justin. I know he's your boyfriend, but it's okay because he thinks I'm you. So it's not like I'm doing anything wrong, right, Meghan?
Juliet was checking out the clothes in Meghan's closet. Selecting several outfits, she carried them to the bed and spread them out. It bothered Meghan to see her behaving so nonchalantly. She didn't seem to be taking the drawing seriously.
Juliet, I wish you'd pay more attention to what's going on. If something happens to you...
Goodness, Meghan, relax. I told you I'll know if something evil comes near me. Stop worrying. Nothing's going to happen to me before Saturday.
Meghan's father brought his wife home from the hospital at noon. While she slept, he gave Juliet permission to go to the library with Justin. Juliet ran happily upstairs to change her clothes. But Meghan wasn't so sure the library was perfectly safe. The auditorium at Philippa should have been perfectly safe, too, but it hadn't been for Hillary, had it? Maybe no place in Lakeside was safe. By the time Justin arrived, Juliet, in a full white skirt and a silky red long-sleeved blouse and red sandals, was waiting at the front door. She looked very pretty. The look on Justin's face depressed Meghan. Would he wear that same expression when she was herself again? When Justin and Juliet left hand in hand, Meghan left too, to see if she could learn anything in town about who was responsible for the terrible things that had been happening. But where was she to look? And what was she to look for? A stranger with maniacal eyes skulking through backyards seeking out victims? Or someone familiar, who on the inside was sick and twisted? The town on this dismal Sunday afternoon was virtually deserted, the residents too scared by the recent events to venture from their homes. Discouraged because there was nothing to see or hear, Meghan moved through the cool gray mist toward home. She arrived to find Justin's red car parked in the driveway facing the lake. Juliet and Justin were in it, kissing intensely, in a way that Justin had never kissed Meghan before. Meghan fled. 20 agonizingly long minutes later, when Juliet entered the bedroom, Meghan was waiting for her.
Juliet, someone could have come up behind that car and pushed it straight into the lake, and you and Justin wouldn't have known it until your shoes started getting soggy. I don't call that being careful.
Sounds to me like somebody's jealous. Gosh, Meghan, I don't see why. Justin thinks it was you he was kissing. Listen, I was doing you a big favor, jump-starting his motor for you.
Justin's gonna get suspicious. He knows I'm not that outgoing.
He doesn't seem to mind.
Hello. Oh, hello, Hillary. Yes, my mother's fine. She came home this afternoon. Well, I just don't think I have anything to apologize for. You're too sensitive, that's all.
Huh. She hung up? What did you do to Hillary, Juliet? Why does she want an apology?
Because she's silly, that's why.
She didn't really leave last night because she was tired, did she? Juliet, what did you do?
I simply said that it was too bad she didn't have a date on Saturday night and had to hang around with Justin and me. The next thing I knew, she was calling her father to come and pick her up. It's really not my fault, Meghan. I didn't mean to hurt her feelings, but I wanted to be alone with Justin.
You told her she was in the way? Juliet, that's awful.
I didn't hear Justin complaining. Meghan, if I'm going to make the most of this week, I can't do it with Hillary hanging over my shoulder.
And without waiting to hear any more, Juliet left to take a bath. Meghan stared longingly at the telephone.
If only I could pick it up and fix things with Hillary. She must be so down right now. How am I ever going to make this up to her?
But there was nothing Meghan could do except wait. 6 more days. 6 long days. It became very clear to Meghan the next morning that Juliet wasn't going to be much help to a recuperating mother, in spite of her promise to Meghan.
Meg, do you think you could do these dishes before you go? I'm going to take your mother's breakfast up to her.
Dishes? Gosh, I don't have time. Justin's picking me up in 2 minutes. Can't Thomas do them?
Me? No way! I have to put air in my bike tires. I don't have time for dishes.
All right, never mind. I'll do them later.
That's Justin now. Gotta dash. See you later.
Bye.
Now, what's got into that girl? She didn't even tell her mother goodbye.
Mr. Logan had decided to take the day off to stay with his wife. So later that morning, Meghan followed Juliet to school. She had to be sure that Juliet was safe. She found her in the cafeteria with Hillary, arguing.
You could at least say you're sorry, Meghan. You embarrassed me in front of Justin. That stinks. I could have had a date Saturday night if I'd wanted one, and you know it.
Then why didn't you? I mean, Hill, you keep telling me to go for it with Justin. How do you expect me to do that with a chaperone around all the time?
Oh, yes, I guess you're right. I'm sorry, I wasn't thinking. I didn't realize I was in the way.
Don't make it sound so tragic. It was no big deal.
I better go. See ya.
As angry as Meghan was, she decided it would be foolish to confront Juliet here in the cafeteria. She would have to wait until they were both back home. When Juliet got up to leave, Meghan noticed that she was not the only person watching. Vicky Deems, seated alone at another table, had fixed her eyes on Juliet. They smoldered with hatred. Why? Because Vicky wanted Justin? Could Vicky be evil enough to have hurt so many people? Before she left school, Meghan went with trepidation to the art room, hoping her cubbyhole would be empty. It wasn't. The sheet of paper was a bright, sunny yellow. The crude strokes depicted what looked like a drum, round and squat, with a green zigzag trim bordering the top and bottom edges. 2 short, skinny drumsticks with padded ends lay crisscross on top of the drum.
It's not a drum. It's a tom-tom. Thomas. Tom. There are 2 of them in my family. Big Tom and Little Tom. Is this a threat to both of them? My father and my brother.
Meghan's cold and lonely world began spinning wildly around her. Why hadn't Juliet told her about the drawing? When Meghan got home, she asked her that question.
I didn't go to art. Justin had to go pick up some stuff for the scribe, so I cut and went with him. I hope you're not mad. I mean, nobody seems to think anything of it. Gosh, if I'd ever cut a class, my father would have killed me.
Not your mother?
My mother died when I was 9.
That's terrible. I'm sorry, Juliet.
Anyway, I promise I won't cut any classes again. I wouldn't want your teachers to be mad at you because of me.
That evening at dinner, Juliet asked Mr. Logan's permission to meet Justin at Lickety Split, the ice cream store in the mall. Still smarting from her behavior that morning, Meghan's father put his foot down.
No, Meghan, you can't. You're staying in tonight. No one in this family is stepping 1 foot outside this house. Do I make myself clear?
Juliet didn't seem to be too upset by Mr. Logan's decision. Although she pouted over the change in plans, she did the dishes and swept the kitchen floor before going upstairs. Meghan expected her to call Justin immediately to cancel their date, but she didn't. Instead, she took a shower, changed into jeans and a pretty green blouse, applied fresh makeup, and then sat down on the bed, a paperback novel in hand, and stayed there until she heard Thomas go into his room and close the door, and shortly after that, the plodding footsteps of a very weary Tom Logan on the stairs. A minute later, the door to the master bedroom clicked shut. With a triumphant smile, Juliet picked up the denim purse, tiptoed down the stairs, and out of the house. Meghan knew she was on her way to Lickety Split to meet Justin as planned. Meghan made sure that her brother and her father were safe in their own beds. Then she followed Juliet. Meghan arrived at the mall to find Hillary arguing with Vicky Deems in the corridor outside the ice cream store, Justin and Juliet were inside, sitting opposite each other in one of the booths. They seemed blissfully unaware of the argument going on outside.
Talk about the pot calling the kettle black, Deems. You got a lot of nerve calling Meghan a flirt. Your own flirt alert is on attack status 24 hours a day. A living, breathing male passes within 50 feet of you, and you're all over him like jelly on peanut butter.
At least I'm not a hypocrite. Little Miss Muffet in there pretended to be so sticky sweet until she caught me talking to Justin. Then she bared her fangs.
How you never stood a chance with him. He's only interested in Meghan. Give it up, Vicky. Get a life.
I don't give up. Ever. If Meghan hadn't come into the scribe office that day, Justin would have asked me to her party. I'm never wrong about things like that.
Yeah, in your dreams, Deems. Why don't you take a walk?
Huh.
Enraged, Vicky turned on her heels and stalked away. Meghan felt a warm rush of affection for Hillary. She wouldn't have blamed her best friend if she'd agreed with Vicky after the way Juliet had treated her. Meghan had never seen Vicky so angry. Did she really want Justin that much? And how far would she go to get him? Inside the restaurant, Hillary marched straight to the counter.
Yes, can I help you? A half-gallon of Triple Trouble ice cream, please.
A half-gallon of Triple Trouble coming right up.
Hillary! Hill? Come on over. Not still mad, are you?
I wouldn't dream of intruding. I'm just here to pick up dessert. Ignore me. That shouldn't be a problem for you.
Oh, come on, Hill, ease up. We didn't mean to hurt your feelings the other night. We feel bad about it.
Yeah, I can tell she's all broken up about it.
Look, I'll tell you what. I'll ask Megan's father if we can take his boat out. The weather stinks, but it'll be fun anyway. Come on, Hill. You can't stay mad forever.
Boat? Justin, you didn't say anything to me about going out in a boat. I won't go.
Poor Juliet. Look at her face. She's terrified of the lake because that's where she died. But they're not going to understand. They think she's me, and I would never react that way to a boat ride. They know I love the lake.
Look, thanks for the offer, but I promised my parents I'd be back in 15 minutes. If I'm not, they're sending the militia after me. They're totally paranoid right now.
Hillary paid for the ice cream and left without saying a word to Juliet, who didn't seem to notice. Justin hurried back to the booth.
What was all that about, Meg? Since when aren't you ready and willing to take a boat ride?
Since my mother ended up floating in the lake, that really upset me.
Oh, yeah, sure. But you'll get over it, right? You know how much I love boating.
Sure, of course. Now let's talk about something else.
Okay. What did you decide to do about the drawing you showed me? Are you planning to take it to Toomey?
Drawing?
Yeah. You know, the one of Jenny's car.
Oh, that drawing. I don't think he'd pay much attention. It's just a scrawl. It's not proof of anything.
When Justin went to pay the bill, Meghan went home, where she checked on her sleeping family and waited anxiously for Juliet's return. They had things to talk about. To Meghan's great relief, Juliet managed to get back into the house without waking either parent. Meghan was waiting for her when she came into the bedroom and closed the door.
Juliet, why didn't you tell Justin about the other drawings? If he knew there were 3, I think he'd agree that you should take them to Sheriff Toomey.
Oh, Meghan, they're just pictures. The sheriff would think I was crazy if I came waltzing into his office with a bunch of crayon drawings. Anyway, I don't want to spend my time with Justin talking about creepy stuff like that. It's not very romantic.
Juliet, you promised you'd help.
And I will, Meghan. I'll pay strict attention to everyone I meet tomorrow. If I sense anything from anyone, I'll tell you about it. I promise, okay?
Juliet, listen, you have to be more careful. You're taking too many chances with my safety. Can't you see how important it is?
You're right, Meghan. I guess I was so excited, I freaked out. It's not a very good way to pay back a favor. I'm sorry. I'll be more careful, I promise.
Meghan drifted toward the window, intending to go outside, when she spotted a small white card on the dresser. According to its bright blue printing, Meghan Logan had a hair appointment at a salon in the mall on Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock.
Juliet, what is this? I don't have a hair appointment.
Oh, Meghan, it was supposed to be a surprise. You forgot to put it on your list, so I made the appointment for you.
But I don't want to have my hair done.
Of course you do. Meghan, you can't go to your Sweet 16 party with your hair looking like this.
Yes, I can. I like my hair the way it is. Just don't make plans without asking me first, okay?
And cancel the hair appointment. Okay, I'll do it tomorrow. But I still think your hair should look special for your Sweet 16 party, Meghan. I wouldn't have dreamed of not going to the beauty parlor before my party. Well, you're not me, are you?
That struck Juliet as being very funny, since for the moment she was Meghan. She was still laughing to herself when she went to brush her teeth. Meghan hadn't found it that funny. She hadn't found it funny at all. For the next 2 days, Meghan stayed close to Juliet. Each day seemed to pass more slowly than the one before, and each day anxiety clung to her like the furry cobwebs in her spider nightmare until her brother and her father arrived home safely. Juliet did shape up as promised. She attended all of Meghan's classes, helped around the house, visited Jenny in the hospital, and seemed content to stay home in the evening as long as Justin joined her there, and sometimes Barb and Cappy, and Hillary, to whom Juliet had apologized. Hillary had forgiven her. There were no more drawings, but Meghan reminded herself that the warning in the last drawing, the tom-tom, hadn't been fulfilled yet. Wednesday afternoon, Donnie Richardson joined them at lunch. Although he said little, Meghan noticed Juliet watching him carefully. Later at home, Meghan asked her why.
There's something about him. I'm not sure what. Maybe he's just a creep, but I definitely felt something. I'm going to keep my eye on him. You think it's him? Hurting people, I mean? I'm not sure, but I'll keep my eye on him, Meghan. You can be sure of that.
Meghan would have to leave it to Juliet. She couldn't add one more person to her list of people to watch. It was hard enough keeping track of 3. Meghan's mother continued to improve and was up and around, relieving Juliet of the heavy housework burden. Although that allowed her more free time, Meghan's father stuck to his rule about no one leaving the house in the evening. Sheriff Toomey hadn't yet learned anything new, and the town was still tense with fear. Later in her bedroom, Juliet complained to Meghan about it.
It's so frustrating. I think your father's being silly. Nothing's happened since Saturday night, and I don't think anything is going to. Whoever did all that stuff must have decided it was too risky.
You don't know that, Juliet. Dad isn't taking any chances, that's all.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I told you that this wasn't a good time.
Meghan, I didn't have any choice. It was either before your birthday or never. Anything is better than never.
I guess.
Meghan wished she could believe that Juliet was right about no more harm coming their way, but she didn't believe for a second that it was over. The sheriff hadn't arrested anyone. Jenny's accident, the attack on her mother, and Hillary's fall off the catwalk couldn't be dismissed just because there were no clues. Someone had made those things happen, and that someone was still out there. But what was he waiting for? And who would be his next victim? Meghan got her answer the very next day. The following afternoon, Meghan's brother Thomas was 15 minutes late home from school. Meghan was with her mother, who was standing at the kitchen sink peeling potatoes. As she peered through the yellow curtains toward the boulevard, she hoped her mother wasn't watching the clock. If she noticed that her son hadn't arrived yet, even after repeated warnings to come straight home from school, she'd become frantic. Meghan saw the truck before she saw Thomas. It was an 18-wheeler, huge, its cab bright yellow and shiny black. It wasn't going very fast, probably only 35 miles an hour. The unusual sound of the truck engine made Mrs. Logan glance toward the boulevard. It all happened very quickly. The truck heaved its lumbering bulk around a corner just as Thomas came whizzing down the street. Thomas should have had plenty of time to stop. All he had to do was use his brakes. He tried. They saw him try. They watched as his hands clenched the brake levers again and again, squeezing with all his might. Nothing happened. The new red and silver bicycle never even slowed down. It aimed straight for the mammoth metal truck as if it were magnetized. As the bicycle and the truck collided, Thomas's skinny little body flew up into the air as if shot from a cannon. It somersaulted twice before slamming back down to the ground, landing on a thin strip of green dividing the boulevard.
Thomas! Oh, my God! Thomas!
Connie Logan raced for the front door and out of the house. People began running out of their houses to gather in horrified silence at the scene. A woman in a blue bathrobe took one look and ran back inside to call for help. The few cars on the boulevard came to a standstill. Meghan floated above the broken figure of her brother, frantic with horror and fear.
There was time for him to stop, to get out of the way. And he tried to use his brakes. I saw him. Why didn't he stop?
Thomas couldn't give her any answers. He was unconscious, bleeding from the nose. When the ambulance arrived, the attendants said nothing as they gently lifted him onto a stretcher and into the back of the vehicle, their faces grim. Mrs. Logan climbed in beside him as they closed the doors and pulled away. Although Meghan desperately wanted to go to the medical center with them, she stayed behind to wait for Juliet. She was about to return to the house when she saw Juliet standing on the corner.
Juliet, Thomas has been hurt.
I saw it. How bad is Thomas hurt?
Bad. I'm going to the hospital. You'd better come too.
When they arrived at the hospital, they found Meghan's distraught parents. It seemed years before the doctor appeared from the surgery doors and walked towards them.
Mr. and Mrs. Logan?
How is he, Doctor?
He's fine now. He's resting. But I'm afraid he'll be here for some time. He has a fractured pelvis, broken leg, and concussion.
Oh.
Can we see him? You can peek in.
I just don't want him to be alone when he wakes up.
When they got home, Meghan's father went straight to bed, while Juliet checked the answering machine in the kitchen to see if Justin had called. There were messages from Hillary, from Cappy, and from the hair salon at the mall, confirming Miss Logan's appointment on Saturday afternoon.
Juliet, I told you to cancel that appointment.
Oh, golly, Megan, I forgot. I'll do it tomorrow first thing. I promise.
Meghan fled upstairs. Surely Juliet would understand that with a second member of her family injured, it was now time for Meghan to become herself again. But when Juliet came upstairs a few minutes later, she had a surprise of her own.
Megan, wait till you see what I've got.
Swinging the denim shoulder bag over the bed, she turned it upside down and dumped out its contents. Out came 6 or 7 sheets of folded construction paper and a handful of brightly colored crayons.
Julia, what is this? Where did you get all this stuff?
In Donnie Richardson's locker.
Julia, what if he had seen you? If he's the one behind all this...
Megan, I didn't do it as you. I did it as me, so no one could have seen me. I can leave your body if I need to. It was the only way I could check out Donnie's locker.
You can leave. Just like that? Whenever you want?
Listen, never mind that now. I'm going to take all this stuff and the drawings you found to the sheriff tomorrow. I figure if he arrests Donnie, things will calm down.
Juliet,
Megan, I told you everything would be okay. And it will be. Now I've got to put these things away and go eat something. I'm starved. Night, Megan.
Juliet went off downstairs. Her step as she left the room was light and happy.
If the sheriff arrests Donnie tomorrow, I won't have to worry about something happening to Juliet. I'll still be here, in this awful place. It'll only be for 2 more days, and then it will all be over.
So why didn't Meghan feel better, she asked herself. Because she didn't. She didn't feel better at all. When Meghan came inside the next morning after a long, lonely night out on the lake, Juliet had already gone. The room was a mess. There were clothes everywhere, and the closet door stood open. Inside it, something caught Meghan's attention. Hanging beside her new turquoise party dress was a short, black, strapless dress with a hot pink cummerbund and a full skirt.
Where did it come from? I would never buy a dress like this. It's too sophisticated. More Juliet's speed than mine. But Juliet isn't going to be at the party. So why does she need a new dress? Does she have a big date with Justin tonight?
Meghan spent the day at the medical center, encouraged by Thomas's condition. He wasn't talking much, but he was conscious. Hoping for good news, Meghan went to school at the end of the day to ask Juliet about her visit to the sheriff's office. And the first person she saw leaving Philippa was Donnie Richardson, unaccompanied by Sheriff Toomey, no handcuffs on his wrists. Strangely enough, he looked like an ordinary, lonely boy. Meghan couldn't find Juliet at Philippa, so she decided to try the house. But there was no one there. Each room was silent and still. Where was she? Maybe Juliet had gone straight to the hospital after school. Meghan raced over there. Juliet wasn't at the hospital, but Sheriff Toomey was. He was bending over Thomas's bed, with Mr. and Mrs. Logan looking on from behind.
So, Thomas, you're saying you tried to stop, but couldn't?
Yeah, that's what happened. Is my bike okay? Mom says you guys took it to get it checked out.
Sure, son. Your bike will be fine once it's fixed. You just lie here and get better.
What do you think, Sheriff?
Doesn't make any sense to me. Go figure. The guy in the truck says he tried to stop and couldn't. So did your son. We're looking into it, but I don't expect we'll find anything more than we found in the Wind Girls accident. Or yours, Connie.
That wasn't an accident, Sheriff.
Maybe not. But there are no leads and no clues. I remember 30, 40 years ago, when your mom was young and theirs was the only house out there on the lake. Martha told me they never locked their doors or windows, not even at night. No reason to. Well, times sure have changed.
I'll say.
I better go. I'll be in touch as soon as I learn anything new.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thanks.
Megan watched as the sheriff moved off wearily down the corridor. He hadn't said a word about the drawings or the things found in Donnie's locker. Juliet obviously hadn't told him yet. But why? She would have to find Juliet and ask her. But where was she? Megan returned to the house again, and a wave of relief washed over her when she found Juliet in the bedroom, rummaging around in the closet.
Juliet, where have you been? I've been looking all over for you.
Justin and I went for a ride.
A ride? I thought something terrible had happened to you. You should have gone to the hospital after school. Mom and Dad could use some support.
I was there this morning. Thomas seemed so much better, I decided to come home and rest up for my date with Justin tonight. We're going over to his house. Cappy and Barb and Hillary are coming too, I think. It'll be fun.
Juliet, did you talk to Sheriff Toomey? What did he say?
Meghan, I rushed right over there when I got up this morning, but he wasn't there. If I'd waited for him, I'd have been late to school, and you told me not to cut any more classes.
Juliet, my friends and my family have almost been killed. We're still in danger.
Meghan, think a minute. Thomas is in the hospital, and your parents are safe there, too. And I'll be safe at Justin's house. Nothing more is going to happen tonight. I'll see the sheriff first thing tomorrow, I promise.
Juliet, where did that dress come from? The black one with the pink trim.
Oh, Meghan, you are such a snoop. I bought that dress for you as a surprise, and now you've spoiled it.
But I have a dress. Juliet, I'm not wearing that black dress to my party. I'm wearing the one that I picked out, so you can take that one back tomorrow.
Oh, all right. But I think it's gorgeous, and I think you're crazy.
It's hard to believe that she and my grandmother were friends. They aren't anything alike.
While Juliet was dressing, Megan remembered Sheriff Toomey's remark about her grandmother's house being the only one on the lake 40 years ago. Then where had Juliet lived?
Juliet, where did you live? When you lived here, I mean. Was it on this street?
Before Juliet could answer, the telephone shrilled. It was Cappy, confirming that she was going to be at Justin's house that evening.
That's great. We'll pick up some goodies and make a real night of it, okay?
Megan was swept up in a wave of overpowering envy. A night at Justin's, surrounded by friends, sounded wonderful to her. She couldn't wait to be back in her own world again. And there was only one more night and one more day to go. Hearing her parents arriving home from the hospital, Megan went to see how her brother was. From what they said, Thomas was doing much better. But Connie still intended to go back to the hospital that evening. The idea of her father being alone in the house only made Megan more anxious. Anything could happen.
I can't keep an eye on both Dad and Juliet when they're in two different places. Why didn't Juliet invite everyone over here tonight? She knows how worried I am about the tom-tom drawing.
Megan hurried upstairs to ask Juliet to switch the gathering to the Logans' house. But she was too late. When she entered the room, it was empty. Juliet was gone. Megan spent a long, lonely night, not leaving the house until her father went to bed. Then she went out to roam the lake for one last time. It was very late when she returned to the house. Juliet was in bed, sound asleep. Megan was surprised.
If it were me, I'd want to squeeze the juice out of every last minute.
When morning finally arrived, Juliet went to see the sheriff as promised, and Megan went with her. But he wasn't there. When they returned home from running errands, they found Megan's father up on a ladder on the stone terrace, stringing brightly colored lights for Megan's party. Since Juliet was safely home, Megan kept an eye on her father, and followed him when he climbed down from the ladder to get a glass of iced tea in the house. Juliet was nowhere to be seen. Anxiously, Meghan went upstairs and into the bedroom. The curtains were drawn, and Juliet was lying on the bed, perfectly still. Her eyes closed, legs straight, arms at her sides. Her skin looked smooth and waxen. Meghan was dumbfounded. Suddenly, from the terrace outside came an almighty crash. Juliet sat bolt upright, wide awake now, and jumped from the bed.
Meghan, what was that?
Meghan flew downstairs with Juliet right behind her. The ladder had fallen through the big sitting room picture window. Meghan's father was lying on his back, outside, in the midst of all the broken glass.
The ladder just tipped right over.
That's weird. Can you get up?
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
That's okay. Come on.
All right, I'm fine.
Come into the kitchen. We'd better see to those cuts.
Okay.
As she watched Juliet tending Tom Logan's wounds, Meghan couldn't help feeling that something very strange was going on. Had Juliet really been asleep when that ladder fell? She hadn't looked asleep. Juliet had been as stiff and rigid as a statue, like there was no one in there.
Juliet said she could leave my body anytime she wanted. Where did she go?
Suspicion began to gnaw at Meghan. Wasn't it just a bit too coincidental that the ladder had fallen at the exact moment when Juliet didn't seem to be in Meghan's body?
When she leaves my body, no one can see or hear her. There would never be any witnesses because Juliet would be invisible.
Meghan thought about the night of her mother's accident. Juliet had been with Justin in the den, watching a movie. It would only have taken Juliet a second to leave Meghan's body and dart out to the dock to attack her mother. Justin wouldn't even have noticed.
Think about it, Meghan. Does she look like someone whose time is almost up? Is she depressed? No. Not at all. She seems perfectly calm.
Juliet finished her nursing duties and ran lightly up the stairs. Meghan's suspicions crept on relentlessly as the pieces of the dark puzzle slotted into place.
The black dress with the pink cummerbund. The hair appointment. They weren't intended for me. They were for Juliet. She never planned to give me back my life. She's gonna keep it for herself. She's gonna have her birthday party after all. It was all a trick.
Meghan raced up the stairs and into the bedroom. When she felt Meghan enter the room, Juliet looked up.
You know, don't you, Meghan? You've guessed.
Yes, but I don't understand any of it.
Then I'll tell you. Why not? You can't do anything about it now. It's because of Martha, your grandmother. She was my stepsister.
That's not true. My grandmother only had one stepsister. Her name was Etta. She died soon after my great-grandmother married her father.
Etta. I am Juliet. I was 15 when my father married Lily Lewis. I hated her on sight. But I hated Martha even more.
But why? Why did you hate them?
Because we didn't need them. I told my father when my mother died that I'd take care of him. Then we came here on vacation, and he met that Lily, and everything changed. She was shameless, chasing him, a widow with a child to support. He married her, and we moved to this awful house. He never had time for me after that.
No one has ever talked about that time very much. I knew you died, but I never knew how or why. No one ever said.
Well, of course they didn't. If you had killed someone, would your family talk about it?
Killed? You said it was a boat accident that took your life.
It wasn't the accident that killed me. Our boat hit a rock and we were both thrown overboard. But the crash didn't kill either of us.
Us?
Martha and me.
What?
I was knocked unconscious. Your sweet, kind grandmother clung to the side of the boat and watched while I drowned.
She wouldn't have done that. Never.
She stole my life! She hated me as much as I hated her. I would never have got into that boat with her, but my father insisted. He said it was my fault that she was lonely and that I had stolen all of her friends. I hated Martha for turning him against me, and I told her so. I ordered her to turn the boat around. She refused. I tried to take the oars from her, but she fought me. Then we hit the rock, and Martha let me drown.
No! I think think she tried to save you. You couldn't have known because you were unconscious. I think you hate her so much you don't want to believe she tried.
She was the one who should have died. But it's all right now. I'm getting even. At last. Your mother never knew what happened to her. Neither did Hillary.
You did it all? Everything?
Everything. The car accident, Thomas's bicycle, your father's ladder, even the drawings.
But why? My friends and family never did anything to you.
Because you care about them, and Martha cared about you. I knew she loved you, and I could take my precious revenge on you and your family and friends. Can't you see that simple justice?
You wanted me to think it was Donnie or Vicky, and they hadn't done anything. It was all you.
They didn't matter, and now you will take my place in my world, and I will take yours forever. That's justice. You know, Meghan, it is uncanny how much you look like your grandmother. Isn't that funny? I'll spend my whole life looking exactly like the woman I hate most. That's your father leaving for the hospital. Now I have to get ready to go out. You do get it that the only reason Justin wasn't hurt is that I want him for myself, don't you? I'm going to take very good care of him for you, I promise.
I am Meghan, and I want to be me again. I am Meghan, and I want to be me again.
Forget it, Meghan. I left out one very important detail when you agreed to switch. Remember when I said your consent was necessary for the trade? Well, so is mine. It's supposed to be an honor kind of thing. You give me your life for a week, and I give it back. Willingly. Only I seem to have misplaced my honor. I guess I lost it when I drowned in that lake, thanks to your grandmother.
Juliet, you can't do this. You have to give my life back to me. You can't keep it.
Oh, yes, I can. And I'm going to. See you, Meg. What am I saying? I won't be seeing you at all, will I? As of midnight, you're history. You should curse the day Martha Lewis was born, as I have cursed it for 46 years.
Across town, Justin was alone in his room, thinking about Meghan. He was probably being loopy, minding the change in her, but the truth was, he missed the old Meghan. The Meghan who never flirted with the other guys and was nice to people and cared about her family. Then he remembered a comment Meghan had made a few days ago. Something weird is going on at my house. If only Justin could remember what it was. Maybe then he'd understand why she'd changed. Justin sat up in his chair. Meghan's best friends, her mother, her brother, all had been hurt. Why hadn't he realized that she could be next? Justin jumped to his feet and ran out of the room. Floating in a limbo of blackness, Meghan could hear the big mantel clock in the den downstairs ticking away the seconds stubbornly. It was 11 o'clock now. Meghan's mind raced. She wanted her life, and Meghan was going to get it back. But how?
Juliet will have to give her consent. Willingly. What would make her do that? Think, Meghan, think. There has to be a way.
Meghan would have to do something to make Juliet want to let go. She'd have to scare her. But what was Juliet afraid of?
The lake. Juliet is terrified of the lake. But how terrified? Enough to make her leave my body to escape the dark water? And how can I get Juliet out on that water? Would she go out on that lake with someone she liked and trusted? Someone like Justin! If only I can find him before Juliet does.
Justin made it to the Logan house in 10 minutes flat. No one answered his ring. They were probably at the hospital with Thomas. It was late. They'd be home soon. Justin went down and sat on the dock to wait. It was there that Meghan found him, moments later.
He has to hear me. Oh, please, please, Justin, hear me. Justin, it's Meghan. Can you hear me? It's me, Meghan.
Meghan? Where are you?
Justin, I know you can't see me, but I'm here. All I want you to do is listen. Will you do that, Justin?
If you're hiding, Meghan, you'd better give it up. I'm not in the mood for games.
I'm not hiding, Justin, I promise. I need to tell you something. You're going to find it very hard to believe, but you must. My life depends on it.
Does this have something to do with what you were trying to tell me a few days ago? About the strange things going on in your house?
Yes, Justin. The reason you can't see me is that I've traded places with someone who died a long time ago.
What? You traded places with a ghost? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Meghan, come on. Quit kidding around.
It's true, Justin. She was my grandmother's stepsister. She showed up a week ago in that old mirror in my bedroom, and she asked me to trade places with her for 1 week. She was so sad and sweet, and I thought it wouldn't hurt to give her just 1 little week out of a whole lifetime. Do you think that's crazy?
I knew there was something, but this... Never guessed this.
I thought Juliet was gentle and good, but she isn't. She's evil. She caused all the accidents. She hated my grandmother, and she's getting even. That's why she's here. Anyway, we were supposed to trade back tonight at midnight, but she never intended to. Juliet was lying the whole time. I just didn't figure that out until today.
But, Meghan, what does that mean?
It means that if I can't find a way to force her to switch back before midnight tonight, Juliet will keep my life, and I'll be trapped in this horrible place forever. Justin?
So, how are we going to make her switch back?
Thank you, Justin. The only thing I could think of was this. Juliet is terrified of the lake. It's where she died. Remember that night in Lickety-Split when you talked about a boat ride? Remember how scared she got? I thought if we could get her out in the lake, maybe she'd be so frightened she'd leave my body. That's what has to happen. She has to leave it willingly.
If she's that afraid, what makes you think I can get her out there?
You can do it, Justin. I know you can. Promise her a special romantic boat ride, just the two of you in the moonlight. She loves being alone with you. It's our only hope.
You think she'll agree to it?
She has to. I don't have any other plan. I know the two of us together can beat her, Justin. I know we can.
Come on, then. Wherever you are. Let's go find Juliet and offer her a nice midnight boat ride.
Before midnight, Justin. Midnight would be too late.
As Justin started up the slope toward the house, he glanced at his watch. It was 11:30. Drawing in a quick breath of alarm, he began running faster and ran into Juliet at the corner of the house.
Hey! Gorgeous.
Justin, I've been looking all over for you. Where have you been?
I was looking for you, too. Hey, I've got a great idea. Your folks aren't home. I checked. So how about if you and me take a little boat ride? Just the two of us. I know this great little island on the other side of the cove.
I've got a terrible headache, Justin. I came home to get some aspirin and to go to bed. I don't want to be all puffy-eyed for my party tomorrow.
I thought you said you were looking for me.
Well, I was. The headache just came on a minute ago. It's a real killer, honest.
Oh, come on, Meg. Just the two of us. A nice, quiet boat ride is just what you need.
No! Honestly, Justin, I can't. I told you I don't like the lake anymore. My mom...
Your mom's fine. You're being silly, Meghan. I thought you were really growing up this week. But if you're afraid to be alone with me...
Why can't we be together inside? You said no one was home.
Meghan, I am going for a boat ride. If you won't come, I'll find someone else who will. Vicky loves the water.
11:45. Only 15 minutes left. Hurry, Justin. Make her quit stalling.
A moonlit boat ride, Meghan. What could be more romantic? Come on.
Placing a firm grip on Juliet's elbow, Justin began leading her down to the dock. When they reached it, she pulled back.
There's no moon. What fun is a midnight boat ride without a moon?
It's just hiding behind a cloud. It'll come out in a minute. Come on. Let's go. Meghan, what's with you? You're looking at this boat like it's a two-headed monster. You're acting really weird. Nothing's more romantic than two people alone on an island at night.
Oh, all right.
That's right. Good.
But I can't stay long. It's late and I've got to get some sleep so I'll look really good tomorrow. You haven't forgotten my party, have you?
No, Meg. I've not forgotten your part. You'll love this place, Meghan. It's very private.
When the boat had picked up speed, Justin veered the boat toward the cove.
Justin, what are you doing? There's no island over there, just the cove.
Have to go through the cove to reach the island, Meghan. Relax, we'll be there in no time.
No! I don't want to go to the cove. I hate that place. It's dangerous. People die there.
Tell you what, I'll just scoot around the edge, okay?
Hurry, Justin, hurry! Justin, you lied. You're not going around the cove. You're going straight in there. Slow down. What are you doing? Justin, turn this boat around right now. I want to go home.
Sit down, Meghan. Sit down before you fall down.
Justin, Carr, I demand you turn this boat around right this minute. Take me home. Justin, please!
The desperation in Juliet's voice was what Meghan had been waiting for. There were only 5 minutes left. It was time to let Juliet know that she was there.
Juliet, it's me, Meghan.
No, you can't be here. Go away.
Oh, but I am, Juliet. This little excursion was our idea. Justin's in mine.
That's impossible. You can't communicate with Justin. I'm the only one who can talk to.
That's not true. Justin and I both have open minds, and Justin has a kind heart. You said that was all it took. Remember?
Stop him. I can't go into the cove. I can't.
Then don't. Leave, Juliet. Leave willingly. Do it now. Give my body back to me.
No! It's not that easy, Meghan. I'll turn this boat around myself.
Turn it around, Justin. I'm going back.
Fighting against the sudden attack, Justin lost control of the boat. In horror, Meghan watched helplessly as the small craft rushed through the churning waters, straight into a rock, looming like a glacier above the lake's surface. Justin was knocked backward to the floor of the boat, but Juliet was catapulted up into the air, and then down, down, into the black water, waiting below. Justin pulled himself to his feet. Juliet had resurfaced and was thrashing about violently. Justin drew in a sharp breath. That was Meghan's body drowning out there. Poising himself on the edge of the boat, he dove into the wild, dark water.
Justin, no.
Juliet was going under for the second time. Justin was trying to reach her, but the wind had whipped the water into a fury. Juliet's eyes were wild with panic. Meghan went to her.
Give me back what's mine, Juliet. Justin can't save you. The current is too strong. You're gonna die here again.
Frantic with fear, Juliet's thoughts answered her.
It's not true, Meghan. Justin will save me.
Listen to me. He can't save you. No one can. My body is dying and will do you no good now. Give it up. Give it back to me.
Gasping, Justin came up for air. With a desperate lunge, he grabbed Juliet, tried to heave her up out of the water toward the boat, but they both sank. In the den across the lake, the great-grandfather clock began to strike midnight.
I am Meghan, and I want my body back.
Oh, no. No. My party. My party.
No, Juliet, it's my party. I am Meghan, and I want my body back. I am Meghan, and I want...
No party! Justin won't save me!
No, Juliet, he can't. You are drowning, just like before.
Before? No! Here is your body, Meghan. I give it back to you. I cannot stand this terrible place. Take it, and know that you will never see me or hear me again.
In the dark, murky water, the lips on Meghan's face twisted, and from them came a bellow of rage so despairing, so filled with anguish and torment, that every creature within hearing distance around the lake perimeter shivered with fear. As the blood-chilling cry trailed off into silence across the lake, Meghan reclaimed her body as Juliet left it. The feeling of weightlessness left her. She found herself in the water, supporting an exhausted Justin. The fierce wind had softened to a whisper, and the lake became as still and subdued as a pond. Justin was too drained to do anything but nod weakly. Helping each other, they struggled into the boat and lay in the bottom, breathing hard and shivering with cold. After a while, Justin reached out for Meghan's hand and gathered her into his arms.
It's all over? She's gone? For good?
Yes. Forever. Thank God.
Someday you can tell me the gruesome details, Meg. But right now, let's go home. We need our sleep. We're going to a very important party tomorrow, remember?
Yes. Oh, Justin.
As the boat moved off toward home, the moon slid out from a bank of gray clouds and shone down on the dark, peaceful water. And only the wildest of the forest creatures continued to hear the echo of the despairing, tortured wail in the soft whisper of the wind. In The Accident by Diane Hoh, Meghan was played by Tony Berry and Juliet by Stacey Jefferson. Justin, James Good. Mrs. Logan and Vicky Deems, Sharon Holm. Mr. Logan, Michael Fitzpatrick. Hillary, Barbara Barnes. The Doctor and the Sheriff, Nathan Osgood. And Thomas, James Darnton. The Accident was adapted and narrated by William Roberts. Music and studio production was by John Mayfield. The director was Anne Rosenfeld. The Accident is a Story Circle production for Scholastic Publications Limited.